I was really blown away by that, and I kept thinking about our public schools here, and again, it's not a valid comparison, but the teachers here have no sense of that whatsoever. How different our society would be if we had more of what some of the models of the Gulen schools were offering. And it's no small feat. I mean, there are sacrifices that go with this. And then you get back to, what are your values and what are your priorities? And to see the school, the students working in the evenings and not watching television, studying in groups, having adult tutors there to assist them. I couldn't quite believe it.
We're people who are excited about learning, who are excited about their lives, excited about their country. It must be that they are people who are listened to, that there are people who listen to them, who pay attention to them, who let them ask questions, who let them, explore ideas and things. They're not afraid of other people. They're not sullen and angry. They're not herded around, like the way that people are here in the public schools. I just know that the schools that we saw were amazing. They were brilliant. They were great.
And I think it's one of the signs that I see that gives me hope for the world. There are a lot of signs that we can look at in the world today and see. We could probably conclude there doesn't seem to be much or little hope. But when I see that kind of commitment on the part of deeply religious people who are devoted to Allah, who are devoted to education, who are devoted to the students, who are devoted to the country, and who want life to be better, not only for themselves but for the whole world, it's just something that I find to be, as I indicated, a sign of hope. Not only for the people of Turkey, not only for the Islamic communities around the world, but for all of us.
The evenings are marked by pleasant dinners as the days were spent traveling around according to the heavy schedule. There were many people all over Turkey who opened their doors and hearts to these guests and welcomed them with smiling faces and hosted them with respect. It was the last evening of the American group in Turkey. An unforgettable surprise was expecting Mr. and Mrs. Boyd's arrival that night in the house they were visiting.
We're ready to leave for the evening, and we're standing out in the hallway, and we were all saying our goodbyes, all of this through a translator. And I asked the translator to say to the daughter, there were two precious children, an 8-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old, and I asked if he would tell the daughters that Tom and I are going to be grandparents in a couple of weeks, and we're expecting our first granddaughter. We have 3 grandsons, and we're ready for a granddaughter, and we're real excited about that. And this child, her face just beamed, and she ran back in the house through the front door, and she brought a doll back. And I had seen the doll in the evening, and her mother had told me that was one of her favorite toys, and she pulled the doll out off the cabinet and brought it out and handed it to me. And through the translator, actually I have the doll here in this house, I should go get it. Through the translator said, "This is for the new baby." And tears just started running down my face because I realized that this child was she had already learned the Gulen principles. She took her favorite toy and gave it to an unborn child that she will never meet, that she doesn't know, to meet a stranger that had only spent a few hours in her home. She'll never see me again. And it was so generous, and she was so excited to give it away.
Mrs. Boyd did not want to accept the present of the little girl because it was so precious to her. But upon the warning of the translator that it would be inappropriate to reject, she had to accept it, with feelings of deep admiration.
So I accepted the doll, and then when I came back to America, I took the doll to my daughter when she had had her baby, and I said, this doll belongs to Lily, which is the name of our grandchild, and I said, but I'm going to keep it until she's 8 years old, because I want to tell her the story about the little girl in Turkey, who will be 16 at that point, who gave this doll to her. And I hope through my grandchild and this child in Turkey that this bridge, even though these two children will most likely never meet, that there'll be a bridge started between my grandchild, who's just now a few weeks old, and this child who's 8, that as my grandchild receives this doll and hears the story, that she'll understand that she has a spirit sister in another land far away who gave her a gift totally out of the generosity of her heart. And maybe that'll be the beginning of something. To me, that story is the symbol of the Gulen movement.
What brought them to Turkey was their friends thousands of miles away from this land. They had accepted the invitation of a university student, or a friend who worked voluntarily for an NGO, or even someone he met in a shop. And they came to Anatolia. In their own expressions, they tasted many new things and had many spiritual experiences that they never encountered before. No one tried to impose any ideas on them. Nothing was dictated. Moreover, many things were even left unexplained. They were only shown a picture. A unique picture decorated finely with love, tolerance, and sincerity for years.
One of the things that very much impressed me in our journey to Turkey was that how committed the Turkish Muslims were that were part of our group to their daily times of prayer. And I was, on the one hand, surprised by that because we had a very rigid schedule that we were on, and we were always on the go. And yet, the Turkish Muslims and all the Muslims that were part of our group took time to be faithful to their...
And that helped some, but really what affected me was his presence. We could not exchange much because we did not share each other's language, and yet this man had a presence. And then he showed up on our bus like a day later, and I just immediately went to him and couldn't talk. And he couldn't talk to me, but we just stood there. I remember standing there beside him and both of us feeling this sense of grace. Whoever he was, I don't even know his name.